result, take it away and hit play.
So, yeah, I got 2 recordings. The first one is Gus Gould. It was on the 100% footy on Monday night. And then the second one is, I think it was this morning's in response to that with Luke Keary, one of the biggest HIA cases walking around. So bear with me if it doesn't come out clearly, but here we go.
I've talked to you about this concussion hysteria and where the game is headed and why it's headed that way and who they've given way to, media and doctors and lawyers and all this misinformation, etc. And I think that the doctor in the bunker is the greatest abomination perpetrated on our game in history. Not every bump to the head is a concussion. Not every concussion is life-threatening. It's just total overkill. Not every slap to the face or bump in the head requires a HIA review. It just would appear that old mate up in the bunker has decided whenever someone gets a bump to the head, they've got to go off and get checked for 15 minutes, which I find totally ludicrous. We talk about play. It's all about litigation. That's what it's about. Protecting
that's what the game's worried about. Exactly right.
They're worried about this tsunami of class actions, which we've been threatening for ages, which never come. But, and if we did, I say take them on. There's not a court in the world that's going to award them anything.
And this is the second one.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the way to go. Like, takes it away from the clubs, and there's obviously a designated doctor sitting there just watching that. So, as a player, as much as it's frustrating sometimes if they might have got it wrong, I think as a player we appreciate it. Even if we don't all say it, we would appreciate it that someone's actually sitting there looking out for us. It's obviously hard. Sometimes our docs are in the dressing rooms with people doing the concussion protocols to get back on. They're looking at other stuff. And there's a lot of things going on at the actual ground, so it's good. Like, obviously, when you get hit, sometimes you're not even awake at the time. As a player, you don't want to go off the field. That's the mentality. We get a knock. We don't want to go off the field. We're not just going to stick our hand up and go, oh, I've got a knock. Take me off the field. I don't know about, can the NRL trust coaches now? Trust the coaches of the clubs? Don't know. Can you trust the players? Probably not. I hadn't really thought about it. There was one floating around at training during the week last week. I chucked it on, so I felt all right. I think, like Trent said, if there's anything you can do to help you with knocks or anything like that, you may as well try it. Tried it on the weekend. It was all right. Didn't really feel it. So.
Yeah, that was the Luke Keary sort of media take this either yesterday or this morning at Tuesday, which will lead us into the Warriors' Knights game. And the big talking point was the Caleb Bonga HIA incident with, less than 12, I think it was 12 minutes to go. In that incident itself, it looked soft on first viewing. But then re-watching this game, this is a game I actually was one of the games I actually sat down and watched and enjoyed to just sit back and relax. And, as I said, the first time I viewed it, it looked soft to be called to go off for an independent doctor review. On second viewing after the game and watching it watching it back, he sort of gets knocked down and he sort of his hands go across his head and he's sort of face down. And he's sort of rolling around. So, being that it's Kane Ponga and knowing that he's had multiple concussions in the past, I think that sort of comes into play with the independent doctor. And now, further research, it's not just an independent doctor. There's an independent doctor now and a club doctor who are both watching the same thing. And maybe, the club goes, it's Kane Ponga, you've got to take him off. And the league has to do right by its players, by the future, because without the future, there is no rugby league in 20, 30 years' time. Like, we look at there's a case down in the AFLW where a player is suing a club for HIA negligence, which by all reports, that club follow the protocols of the HIA and the AFL. Look, I understand Gus Gould. Not every head knock is going to be a HIA. Not every bump is going to be deadly, but you have to side on the side of precaution, because let's just say this was a brain bleed. We didn't catch it, or whatever it is. We have to take. We have to be on the side. I've got to err on the side of caution, because whether it's the first minute of the game or it's the last minute of the game, the NRL is doing right by its thing. The little stats as well. I think it was 19 HIAs over the round one. 14 of those were by the club doctor, and 8 of the 19 failed. So that's pretty good. Pretty good for the club doctor to recognise that there's some HIAs out there. But yes, was it a pivotal part of the match that they still needed Kalen Ponga? Yes. Was it harsh? Maybe so. You can even see the referee's face. He's like, it's the independent doctor. It's not my call. So you just got to go. And Kalen Ponga sort of stood up and didn't want to go off, but it is what it is. Warriors ran away with it. They did some good scramble defense on the goal line. Knights a bit clunky in the middle. Halves looked really good when they were on, but other than that, that's all I have to say about this game. What about you, Tony?
Yeah, I've got to agree. Obviously, Graham Ainsworth was the one that came out and said that the 14 of the 19 were the club doctor, and the independent person is only there in case the club doctor does miss something. So I guess it's a tough one because you could say, who cares, let them play, and then the NRL goes broke because they have to pay out $25 million worth of retirement to players because it's medically retired. So it is a tough one. I guess your history does have to take into it. So obviously for Kalen Ponga, he has had a lot of head injuries. It's going to take into account. Obviously, you look at Luke Keary. Like you said at the end of that video, it did get a little bit soft. That sound, it did get a bit softer. But like he said, he put a headgear on. It was around training. Anything to take more precaution, that's what they're going to do. And I think the Roosters, yes, they have a lot of concussions. Obviously, Friend, Cordner, Keary, Radley on the weekend, Lodge with whatever the hell hit him in that we'll talk about later. But obviously, they do take a lot of precaution in this. So I think the step forward is it's here to stay. The independent doctor's here to stay. Just if you don't like it, go commentate another sport because player welfare is the number one point. But like you said, the Warriors went away with it. We both got maximum points here. So you did take a 6-3 lead going into the second game on Friday night. But that second game on Friday night definitely threw a spin on everything. You said it was going to be close. I went with a blowout. The Broncos said, fuck yes, Panthers aren't winning. And Penrith fell at the foot of the mountain, 13-12 to the Brisbane Broncos. Now, again, we spoke about this after the club challenge. Penrith are just seeming very, very predictable in attack. Now, I don't know if it's because their combinations quite aren't there yet. I think they'll be fine come round 5, 6, 7, whatever it is. They will be fine. They will be there at the end of the season playing finals football. But for me, it kind of just looks clunky. Cleary can't take control. Luai can't take control. They're missing kick out. They're missing Api Coruscant. We were speaking off air, and all I said, I think from minute 0 to minute whenever he came on was, you need to get Sonny Luke on. You need to get Sonny Luke on. He comes on, he scores, and he set the game up for a grandstand. So I guess my question to you, he hasn't been named again this week, which we'll talk about in the next episode, but what did you think about this game, and does Sonny Luke need to play because he's very similar to that Api Coruscant style of play?
Yeah, it was another great game to watch, rolling on from the Warriors night. Taking that they've lost Api Coruscant and really Kikau, they also lost 2 assistant coaches in Andrew Webster, who's now coaching the New Zealand Warriors, and Cameron Serraldo, who's coaching the Bulldogs now. So they've also lost, and Serraldo was more on the defense. And defensively, they looked a bit sloppy at times. The starting hooker balls out from him were a bit sloppy, weren't really hitting the players quite well. Their last tackle options, it seemed to always go to Nathan Cleary. And I think that's getting a bit too predictable. Luai needs to step up and kick. Maybe, whoever the hooker is, maybe they need to start stepping up, or Dylan Edwards or Stephen Crichton while he's here, or someone else needs to take some little bit of pressure off Nathan Cleary, because I think it was like 95% of the time it was going on Nathan Cleary and he was always kicking. The home crowd, well too quiet. Maybe it was because of the wet weather. That's 2 games in sort of drizzle weather that they've lost. Individual efforts in certain spots of the game were good, but games weren't won on little individual efforts. They're won on the back of that, where the team, when one player steps up, the whole team needs to step up and support that one person, and which they failed to do. Sonny should have started at 9. By his efforts, he come on with 25 minutes to go, and he looked absolute electric off the bench. But that's all about the Penrith Broncos. Great captain's challenge for Adam Reynolds, because I didn't even see that we played the player played at the ball, uses that, scores as the field goal, and they go on from there. Defense was great all over the park, but silly errors coming out from their own line. Cobbo drops it 30 meters out, or the wingers dropping it here, or bad play of the ball, which invites pressure back on them, which Penrith failed to capitalise. Forwards, Haas looking like $1 million player. Hard to say, but he was really dominating. And then to cap it all off, you got the Luai Salmon situation where, mate, I've heard worse. I've been privy around things that have been worse on and off the field. I believe that conversation should always be off the field, even playing at representative football level. Always the sporting director said, if you've got any issues, wait until you're off the field with the coach and other players around you in the sheds. I don't think it's for a conversation on the field, but Luai is a senior player giving it to a player who said he was tired. I have no objections to Luai for calling it out, but Salmon, that's a bad response.
I've got no issue with it, to be quite frank. I mean, we've all been there. We've all been heated in the moment. I've given worse sprays in a little social competition if I was playing 7-a-side. So I don't think there was too much. I don't think there was too much in there, if I'm being completely honest. Obviously, if anything, if I was a Panthers fan looking in, I'm going, the players fucking care they lost. We see teammates, we see teams, they go out, they get trounced, which we'll talk about soon with the Bulldogs. They get trounced and they're laughing and shaking hands and having a chat at the end of the game. Like, me seeing Luai and someone going at it, okay, yes, there's an issue. Maybe the player group isn't as tight as it used to be, but these guys fucking care that they lost the game. And for me, 9/10 of it right there, I'm happy with it. I move it on. Hey, boys, next time you want to do it, tone it down a little bit, or like have a chat in the sheds like you said. But like Paul Gallen said, for a media perspective, we love it. For a podcasting perspective, we love it. We love the drama. But on the field, you know what? I think it was Penrith put a joke out today where Luai was choking Salmon in a joke. So they put that picture out. The players are fine. They've moved on.